What if I told you that an ancient biblical practice, one specifically mentioned by Jesus himself, could break the power of lust in your life in just 3 days? In Matthew 17:21, Jesus revealed something profound about certain spiritual battles. He said, "This kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting." Today, I am going to reveal a 3-day spiritual fast that has helped thousands break free from the chains of lust. A specific biblical approach that most believers have never heard about, despite it being hidden in plain sight throughout Scripture. And, I promise, by the end of this video, you will understand why this particular approach works when willpower, accountability, and even regular prayer have failed. Before I reveal this 3-day process, we need to understand why most approaches to overcoming lust ultimately fail. Most believers try these 3 common strategies. First, behavioral modification, blocking websites, accountability software, or avoiding triggers. While these can be helpful tools, they only address symptoms, not the root. Second, increased willpower, trying harder, making stronger commitments, feeling more guilt. But Jesus never taught that freedom comes through more human effort. Third, general prayer, asking God repeatedly to take away the temptation. Yet this approach often leads to frustration when the temptations persist. Here is what most spiritual teachers completely miss. Lust is not just a behavior problem or even a thought problem. It is a spiritual stronghold that operates on multiple dimensions. In 1 Corinthians 10:4, Paul reveals, "The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds." The Greek word for stronghold here is okoroma, a military fortress specifically designed to withstand normal attacks. This is why typical approaches do not work. They are like firing regular arrows at a fortified castle. You need spiritual weapons specifically designed for this battle. And that's exactly what Jesus revealed when he said certain spiritual battles require the combined power of prayer and fasting. A truth that's been hidden in plain sight for generations. The connection between fasting and spiritual breakthrough is not just mentioned once in Scripture. It is a consistent pattern from Genesis to Revelation. Moses fasted for 40 days before receiving the 10 Commandments. Esther fasted for 3 days before confronting the king to save her people. Daniel fasted before receiving his most profound visions. Jesus himself fasted 40 days before beginning his ministry. But here is the revelation that transformed my understanding. Fasting is not just a way to show God we are serious. It is a mechanism he designed to recalibrate our entire being, spirit, soul, and body. Isaiah 58:6 reveals the specific purpose of biblical fasting. Is not this the fast that I choose, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke? Notice the language here: loose bonds, undo straps, let the oppressed go free, break every yoke. This is not a poetic metaphor, it is describing spiritual liberation from bondage. And in case there was any doubt about fasting's power, Jesus himself stated in Matthew 17 that certain spiritual battles can only be won through this specific combination of prayer and fasting. But here is what changes everything. The specific type of fast matters tremendously. Not all biblical fasts serve the same purpose. Through studying Scripture and working with thousands struggling with lust, I have discovered a specific 3-day fasting protocol that targets the unique spiritual, mental, and physiological aspects of sexual bondage. This is not just spiritual theory. It is a transformative truth that has set countless believers free from cycles they thought they had never escaped. Before I reveal the specific 3-day fasting protocol, you need to understand the 3 dimensions of lust bondage, because each requires a specific approach within the fast. Dimension 1, physical appetite connection. In Romans 8:13, Paul writes, "For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the misdeeds of the body, you will live." What most believers miss is the physiological connection between different appetites. The same brain pathways that regulate hunger also influence sexual desire, which is why fasting specifically targets lust, in ways other spiritual disciplines do not. When Jesus fasted in the wilderness, the first temptation the devil used was appetite-based. Turn these stones into bread. Devil understands that physical appetite is often the gateway to spiritual compromise. By temporarily denying yourself physical food, you are actually strengthening the neurological pathways that help control all appetites, including sexual ones. Dimension 2. Soul ties and attachments. 1 Corinthians 6:16 reveals something profound about sexual connection. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For as it is written, the two will become one flesh. This verse reveals that sexual sin creates spiritual attachments, what many call soul ties, connections that remain long after the physical act, influencing thoughts, desires, and spiritual reality. Fasting specifically weakens these attachments by temporarily detaching us from physical dependencies, creating space for spiritual liberation. Dimension 3. Spiritual perception and authority. In Ephesians 1:18, Paul prays, "I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you." Fasting heightens spiritual perception, your ability to discern God's voice, recognize spiritual attacks, and see from heaven's perspective. When your spiritual perception increases, temptation loses its deceptive power. As James 4:7 promises, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. But resistance requires recognition first. Each day of this 3-day fast targets one of these dimensions, creating a comprehensive approach that addresses lust at every level of your being. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to drop a comment below letting me know you want a part 2. Make sure to subscribe so you do not miss it. Until next time, see you in part 2.